Welcome back to the deep dive. You know the drill. We take the stack of sources you send us, your reading lists, your research, the deepest rabbit holes of your curiosity, and we jump right in, surfacing the most fascinating and essential knowledge.
And today, wow, we are tackling something truly foundational. It's a myth, an idea that's so persistent, frankly so bizarre sometimes, that it requires us to span centuries. We're talking history, theology, science, even cinematic fiction.
Right. Our listener, who goes by The Learner, sent in an incredible stack of material. It really demanded a comprehensive look, didn't it?
Absolutely. It's like the ultimate conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
The Hollow Earth.
That's it. So our mission today is a full-spectrum analysis. We're going to trace this idea that the Earth isn't solid, that it contains this massive, substantial interior space, sometimes inhabited, sometimes not.
Exactly. We need to cover the whole evolution from, these ancient mythological archetypes right up to a very sophisticated modern, well, a grand unified theory of paranoia, really.
It's a huge scope. We have to
Right.
chart the course from the underworld of spiritual belief.
To the inner world of, believe it or not, actual scientific speculation for a time.
We need to detail its rise and fall in academic circles, then its resurrection by these American populists.
And then the final, almost sinister synthesis. We're talking secret Nazi bases, global cover-ups, and even the origin of flying saucers. It all gets bundled together.
And that's the hook, isn't it? That's the core conflict that makes this whole story so compelling.
Definitely. How did an idea initially proposed with genuine scientific seriousness by someone like Edmund Halley?
Yeah, I mean, a heavyweight 17th century scientist helped publish Newton.
Right. How does that evolve into a tale where Admiral Richard Byrd supposedly flies into the Earth and meets advanced beings with a message for humanity?
It's quite a journey. It tells you a lot about, well, how much the human imagination seems to need a secret world, maybe more than it needs geological facts sometimes.
So let's unpack this extraordinary history. And we have to start where all this hidden knowledge really begins, in myth.
Okay, so to really get why the Hollow Earth idea has such a grip, we need to look past the geology for a second.
Right. It's rooted in something much older, much deeper. A universal human archetype. The idea of a world beneath our feet. The subterranean realm.
That's absolutely spot on. The sources make it clear. The persistence here isn't about rocks and minerals initially. It's primal curiosity. It's fear, too.
Think about it. Before we had deep drilling, before seismology, what was under us? It was the ultimate unknown. Dark, unexplorable.
And maybe, crucially, where you went after you died. Or where the gods lived.
Exactly. These ancient subterranean places weren't just, empty caves in the stories. They were foundational to their whole cosmology. They explained where spirits went, where treasure was hidden, how you might access the divine.
You see it everywhere. The Greeks had Hades, a dark realm of the dead, literally under the earth.
And you could supposedly get there through certain caves or springs, portals, basically, a distinct place separate from the living world.
Then you go north to the Norse myths. You've got places like Svartalfaheimer.
The home of the dwarves, the dark elves, a whole world built under the surface, often guarding immense treasures. It's part of their creation story, this layered reality.
Even in the Abrahamic faiths, this idea is incredibly potent. You have Sheol in Judaism.
The common grave, yeah. And then later, the really vivid Christian depictions of hell, almost always deep within the earth. Fiery pits, places of judgment, the ultimate down there.
But it wasn't always about dread, was it? The sources mention Eastern traditions had a different take sometimes.
That's right. Particularly in Hinduism, you get the concept of Patala.
Patala. And that's a different.
It really flips the script. It's not necessarily a hell. It's often described as this subterranean world of incredible wealth, jewels, beauty, ruled by nagas, serpent deities, or asuras, who are sometimes seen as demons. But it's opulent, maybe even more desirable than the surface world in some texts.
Okay, so a subterranean paradise almost. And this connects to later ideas.
Critically, this positive view, combined with Tibetan Buddhist concepts of a hidden spiritual kingdom, that's the seed for the later legends of Agartha and Shambhala.
Ah, right. Those names come up again and again in the modern theories. A perfect, secret, hidden realm inside the earth.
Exactly. So this whole ancient history, this collective bedrock of myth, Hades, Patala, Svartalfaheimer, it primes the human mind. We're already thinking in layers.
So the transition wasn't such a leap, from a spiritual underworld to a physical one.
It feels almost seamless in retrospect.
Yeah.
The underworld shifts from being purely about spirits and gods to being the last physical frontier. Still mysterious, maybe still mystical, but potentially physically there.
So when the Enlightenment scientists like Halley came along, they weren't inventing the idea of an inner space from scratch.
Not at all. They were taking this existing container, this universal concept of the underworld, and applying the new tools of physics and reason to it. They were trying to figure out the physical mechanics, not the spiritual ones. How could it actually work?
Which brings us squarely into the scientific revolution.
This is where the theory, for a short time, gets serious academic attention. Late 17th century. It wasn't fringe back then. It was debated, presented at the highest levels, and the key figure is Edmund Halley.
We need to stress his importance. This wasn't some obscure crank, astronomer royal, fellow of the Royal Society.
The guy who basically forced Newton to publish the Principia Mathematica.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a top-tier scientific mind of the age.
So why was someone like Halley interested in a hollow Earth?
He was trying to solve a real, pressing scientific puzzle. The Earth's magnetic field. It wasn't stable. The magnetic poles moved. Their strength varied.
And nobody could explain why.
Not with the models they had. This was a huge problem, especially for navigation at sea. Halley, who was an expert cartographer and studied magnetism, needed a physical explanation for this drift.
And his explanation was the hollow Earth.
His solution, presented to the Royal Society in 1692, was ingenious, even if it turned out wrong. He proposed a layered Earth, concentric shells.
Like a Russian doll.
Pretty much. He envisioned our outer crust, maybe 500 to 800 miles thick. Inside that, two smaller inner concentric shells, and then an innermost core, all floating freely.
Floating?
Well, the details were less clear, but he sized them roughly like Venus, Mars, and Mercury relative to Earth. The key was the mechanism for magnetism.
Ah, right. The original problem.
Halley proposed that each of these four bodies, the outer shell, the two inner shells, the core, had its own set of magnetic poles. And crucially, they rotated at slightly different speeds.
Differential rotation.
Exactly. So as these shells spun independently, their combined magnetic fields, shifting relative to each other, would produce the variations observed on the surface. It accounted for the drift.
That is actually quite brilliant, mechanically speaking, using known physics of the time.
It was a beautiful model. But Halley, being a curious Enlightenment guy, didn't stop there. He wondered about the spaces between the shells.
If they're floating, there must be gaps.
He suggested these gaps were filled with their own atmospheres. And because they were shielded from the cold of space, he speculated they could be possibly inhabited.
Inhabited. So the life inside wasn't just myth anymore.
He put it on the table scientifically. And he even proposed how they might get light down there. He theorized the inner atmosphere itself was luminous. It glowed.
A self-lighting interior.
Yes. And this directly led to his explanation for the aurora borealis, the northern lights.
Wait, how did that connect?
Halley suggested this luminous inner gas sometimes escaped, maybe through thin spots in the crust near the poles. That escaping light, shining out into our sky, was the aurora, the Earth venting its internal light.
So the northern lights were proof of the inner world. That's incredibly poetic. I read he even had a hollow globe made for his portrait.
He was committed to the idea, and his reputation gave it credibility. It inspired variations, too. Leonhard Euler, the mathematician.
Another John.
He apparently proposed a simpler model later. Just one hollow shell, maybe 1,000 kilometers thick, with a small central sun inside providing light and heat, though the attribution to Euler is sometimes disputed.
But even with these big names, the science itself was moving on. The theory couldn't hold up forever.
No. The very scientific method that birthed it ultimately killed it. The definitive blow came in 1774 with the Schehallien experiment in Scotland.
Right, this was about weighing the Earth, wasn't it? How did they do that?
It was clever. Neville Maskelyne and Charles Hutton used this big symmetrical mountain, Schehallien. They hung plumb lines, basically weights on strings near the mountain.
Okay, so a plumb line normally hangs straight down due to Earth's gravity.
Exactly. But the mountain also has mass, so its gravity pulls the plumb lines slightly sideways, just a tiny amount.
Ah, I see. They measured that sideways deflection.
Precisely. By measuring that tiny angle and estimating the mountain's mass and volume, they could figure out the ratio between the mountain's density and the Earth's average density.
And then calculate the density of the whole planet.
For the first time, with reasonable accuracy. And the result was fatal for Halley's model.
What did they find?
Their initial result was around 4.5 grams per cubic centimeter, later refined by Hutton to about 5.5 GC a meter. That's incredibly close to the modern value.
And why was that so bad for the hollow Earth idea?
Because the rocks on the Earth's surface, the crust, only have a density of about 2.7 GC a meter. Wow. If the Earth were mostly hollow, its average density would have to be lower than the crust's density, right?
Right, lots of empty space would bring the average down.
But the average density is actually double the crust's density. The only way that's possible is if the interior is incredibly dense. Solid, heavy materials like iron and nickel in the core. No room for vast, hollow shells.
So, scientifically, game over by the late 1700s.
Academically, yes. The hypothesis was dead. But the idea, the appeal of a hidden world, especially one proposed by Halley, that didn't die so easily. It just needed new champions outside the mainstream scientific establishment.
And it found them, didn't it, across the Atlantic?
Oh, yes. The 19th century saw this idea explode in America, not as a scientific debate, but as a kind of populist obsession. It generated two completely opposing models that somehow both managed to survive.
It's fascinating. You get John Cleve Symons Jr. pushing the outside-in version.
And Cyrus Reed Teed, with the completely bizarre inside-out version.
Let's start with Symons. He sounds like a real character. Former Army officer, no formal science training, but totally convinced.
He burst onto the scene in 1818 with his circular #1, sent it everywhere, colleges, governments, anyone who might listen. Apparently, he often included affidavits swearing he was sane.
Which tells you something about how it was received. What did his circular declare?
Boldly, I declare that the Earth is hollow and habitable within, containing a number of solid concentric spheres, one within the other, and that it is open at the poles 12 or 16 degrees.
Open at the poles, that's his big contribution, right? The Symons holes.
Absolutely. This became the iconic image. He claimed there were massive openings at both the North and South poles, something like 1,400 miles across.
1,400 miles. How could anyone miss that?
Well, Symons had an ingenious explanation for that. The smooth lip.
The smooth?
He argued the curve of the Earth at the edge of these holes was so gradual, so gentle, that a ship sailing towards it would cross over the rim and into the interior without even noticing. Like an ant crawling over the edge of a coffee cup, he said.
That's brilliant. It solves the lack of evidence problem. If you don't realize you've entered, you wouldn't report it.
Exactly. It's a built-in defense mechanism for the theory. And Symons was passionate. He lectured, raised funds, tried desperately to launch an expedition to prove it, pledged his life to finding these holes.
Did he have followers?
He did. Symesians. His son even built a monument to him in Ohio, a hollow globe showing the polar openings. Symons really cemented the idea of physical entry points of the poles in the popular imagination.
Okay, so Symons gives us the classic journey inside through the poles model, but then there's Teed.
Cyrus Reed Teed. Completely different. He claimed he had a divine revelation in 1869, called himself Koresh.
And his revelation was, we're already inside.
Yes. His idea, cellular cosmogony, or whole world theory, was that the Earth's crust is infinitely thick and we live on the inner surface. The entire universe, sun, moon, stars, is contained within this hollow sphere.
Wait, if we're on the inside surface, wouldn't gravity pull us towards the center of the sphere?
Yeah.
Away from the ground?
That's the obvious problem. Teed, or Koresh, had a, let's say, complex answer.
Yeah.
He talked about centrifugal force in the universe rotating inside, combined with air pressure and weird electrical energies in the crust, somehow holding everything up against the inner surface. Gravity, as we know it, was basically an illusion.
So the sun and stars aren't out there. They're in here with us.
According to Koresh, yes. They were phenomena within the sphere, generated by complex light effects, refractions, electrical interactions in the central space. He even founded a religion, Koreshanity, and a utopian community in Florida to try and prove the Earth curved inwards.
Wow. So you've got these two totally incompatible 19th century American models. Symons, we live outside, holes at the poles let us in. Teed, we live inside, the universe is in here too.
And somehow both of these contradictory ideas survived and got picked up later by different conspiracy theorists. It's quite remarkable.
While all this populist stuff was happening in America, there was a parallel track developing in Europe, right? More spiritual, more occult.
Exactly. This is where the names Agartha and Shambhala come in. This tradition wasn't about physical holes, but about secret, spiritually advanced civilizations hidden underground.
This provides the who for the where, the inhabitants. But Agartha, that's not actually an ancient myth, is it?
No, that's a key point from the sources. The term popped up briefly in 1873, but the modern myth of Agartha as this underground kingdom was essentially created by a French occultist, Alexandre Saint-Yves-d'Alvedre, in 1886.
And what was his story?
He claimed Agartha was this incredible utopia moved underground at the start of the Kali Yuga.
Which is the current dark age in Hindu cycles.
Right. So Agartha was a sanctuary, preserving wisdom and technology, ruled by the king of the world. St. Eves claimed he didn't physically go there, he visited via astral projection.
Astral projection, so it starts as a spiritual or psychic place, not necessarily physical.
Initially, yes, but it gained wider fame through a popular 1922 book, Beasts, Men, and Gods, which described Mongolian beliefs about this subterranean kingdom. That really put Agartha on the map internationally.
And then it got mixed up with Shambhala.
Exactly. Shambhala is a genuine ancient concept from Tibetan Buddhism. It means place of peace, a mythical pure land.
And like some other myths, it had a dual nature.
Yes. It's described both as a potential physical utopia hidden somewhere in the mountains, a kind of Shangri-La, but also as an internal state, a level of spiritual purity you could achieve through meditation.
But Western occultists took these two distinct ideas, Agartha and Shambhala, and did what?
They basically mashed them together and created this elaborate subterranean drama, a rivalry, a hidden war beneath the Earth's crust.
A spiritual Cold War underground. What were the sides?
It varied, but one common version, especially popular in German occult circles like the Thule Society, cast Agartha as the good guys, the right-hand path.
Associated with what kind of power?
Often linked to the Wheel of the Golden Sun, or the concept of Vril.
Vril. That sounds familiar.
It comes from the 1871 novel The Coming Race. Vril was imagined as this powerful, life-giving energy source wielded by a subterranean super race. So Agartha was seen as the source of this positive, constructive power.
Which makes Shambhala
the dark counterpart, the left-hand path, associated with the Wheel of the Black Sun, malevolent forces, destructive power. That Black Sun symbol became quite notorious later on.
Were there other interpretations?
Yes, some are even more complex. Sources mention views where both were seen as negative influences on humanity, just different kinds.
Right.
One framework saw Agartha representing Luciferic influence, not pure evil, but more like arrogant intellect, pride, rejecting the material world for abstract knowledge.
And Shambhala in that view?
It represented Ahrimanic influence, the opposite trap. Soul-crushing materialism, binding humanity completely to the physical, denying the spirit.
So a really complex, almost theological battle happening underground. And this was big in Germany in the 20s and 30s.
Hugely influential in those esoteric circles. This whole fabricated mythology, secret masters, hidden kingdoms, cosmic energy struggles. It created the perfect ideological soup for what came later. The Nazi conspiracy theories had a ready-made mystical underworld to plug into.
It's truly incredible how this idea just refused to die after science debunked it in 1774.
And the reason it survived, as we see, is that fiction essentially threw it a lifeline.
Right. The novels didn't just keep the idea alive, they gave it shape, detail, blueprints, really.
Exactly. They codified it. Future believers weren't reading scientific papers anymore. They were reading adventure stories and treating them like field manuals.
First big one has to be Jules Verne, right? Journey to the Center of the Earth, 1864.
Classic. Verne was great at scientific romance, taking the science of his day and stretching it just enough for adventure.
But his version wasn't quite the later conspiracy model, was it?
No, he was more grounded. His explorers go down through a real volcano in Iceland, Snæfellsjökull. They find a single vast cavern inside, not concentric shells. There's a subterranean sea, prehistoric creatures, lit by geothermal effects.
So still fantastical, but trying to stay within the bounds of possible geology, more or less. A giant cave system, not a whole inner planet.
Pretty much. But the version that really became the template for the 20th century Hollow Earth theories, that came from Edgar Rice Burroughs.
The Tarzan guy.
The very same. His Pellucidar series, starting in 1914, is where all the threads get woven together into the definitive model.
Okay, break down Pellucidar for us. What did Burroughs borrow and blend?
Well, he took the entry point straight from Sims, a large opening at the pole. Pellucidar itself is the inner surface of the Earth's crust, supposedly 500 miles down.
And how did he solve the lighting problem? No luminous gas.
Much cooler. He put a miniature sun right in the center of the hollow sphere. Stationary, always shining.
A tiny internal sun. What did that mean for the world?
It created eternal noon, constant daylight, no sunrise, no sunset, which had a huge narrative impact.
How so?
No way to measure time. No days, no nights, no seasons. This explained why the human inhabitants were primitive, hard to develop complex societies without timekeeping, and it made the place feel alien and disorienting.
Who lived there besides primitive humans?
Dinosaurs, naturally.
Yeah.
But the dominant species were the Mahars.
Mahars.
Intelligent, evolved pterosaurs.
Yeah.
They were telepathic, used hypnotic control, and ruled over the humans. This cemented the idea of an advanced, possibly dangerous non-human race inside the Earth.
Intelligent pterosaurs, that's quite something. And Burroughs really solidified this model.
Absolutely, especially when he had Tarzan himself visit Pellucidar in a later book. That crossover really locked the Pellucidar setup. Polar hole, central sun, dinosaurs, advanced Mahars into the public mind. It became the default Hollow Earth setting.
So fiction provided the detailed world map that science had taken away.
It's the perfect example. When the facts disprove a cherished idea, the fictional version often takes over the cultural memory and keeps the dream alive.
Which brings us to the post-World War II era. Everything changes here, doesn't it?
Completely. The trauma of the war, the dawn of the nuclear age, the Cold War paranoia, and crucially, the sudden appearance of UFOs in 1947. It was like a perfect storm.
Fertile ground for conspiracy theories.
The most fertile ground. And the Hollow Earth concept was right there, ready to absorb all these new fears and mysteries. It became the grand unified theory of paranoia.
And the missing piece, the ultimate bogeyman, was the defeated Third Reich.
Exactly. The Nazis provided the hidden villains, the rumors of secret super technology, and a plausible motive for needing a secret hideout. This led to two quite different Nazi Hollow Earth connections.
Theory A is maybe the weirdest. It connects back to Teed's concave Earth.
Yeah, the whole world theory. There are claims, though hard to verify definitively, that some fringe figures within the Nazi hierarchy actually believed we lived inside the sphere.
And this led to?
The bizarre story is that they mounted an expedition, possibly on the island of Rügen, to try and spy on the British fleet. The logic was, if we're inside a sphere, aiming powerful cameras or infrared detectors up at the sky should allow them to see across the interior curve to the other side.
They thought they could see British ships by looking up.
Across the concave inner surface, yes. It's ludicrous from an optics perspective, but it speaks volumes about the kind of extreme pseudoscientific ideas floating around some Nazi circles. If it happened, it obviously failed.
Okay, that one's pretty out there, but theory B is the one that really stuck, right? The Antarctic connection.
This is the big one. The Neuschwabenland myth.
Let's start with the facts. Germany did go to Antarctica before the war.
Correct. 1938-39. An expedition ship, the Schwabenland, mapped a large area of Queen Maud Land by seaplane, dropped swastika markers, claimed it as Neuschwabenland. The official reason was scouting for whaling grounds.
But the conspiracy theory claims
That this was all a cover. That the real mission was to establish a secret, massive underground base, Base 211, hidden in an ice-free area warmed by geothermal springs.
in after the war.
The legend says Hitler, top Nazis, scientists, maybe even occult masters, escaped Berlin via advanced U-boats and fled to this Antarctic sanctuary. Base 211 became the hidden Nazi stronghold.
Okay, this theory connects the Nazis, secret tech, U-boats, and a hidden location. But the reality?
Pure fantasy. First, the 1938 expedition was brief, mostly aerial survey. Second, Nazi U-boats simply didn't have the range or capability for such a trip, especially navigating under ice.
And the supposed location of Base 211, it's not unknown territory, is it?
Absolutely not. That entire region of Antarctica has been intensively studied since the 1950s International Geophysical Year. There are permanent research stations from many countries, thousands of personnel have worked there, satellites map it constantly.
So no hidden geothermal oasis, no secret Nazi city.
Zero evidence. None whatsoever. The theory only survives by claiming all those scientists and governments are part of the cover-up.
Which leads perfectly into the next layer, Admiral Byrd and his supposed secret diary.
Ah, yes. The linchpin story that ties the U.S. government, potentially Nazis, and the inner world together. This is a classic case of twisting historical events.
So the fictional version goes, what? Byrd flew over the North Pole in 1947.
The story claims he flew 1,700 miles beyond the North Pole, slipped through one of Simon's polar openings.
And found what inside?
A lush, green, prehistoric land, warm climate, mammoths, the works, basically Pellucidar. And he encountered flying discs.
UFOs, piloted by?
An advanced inner Earth race. They escorted him to their leader, who gave Byrd a warning message for humanity about nuclear weapons. Stop the madness, essentially.
And the crucial conspiracy element.
On his return, Byrd was supposedly debriefed, his diary confiscated, and he was sworn to absolute secrecy by the U.S. military-industrial complex. Silenced.
It's a great story. But the facts?
Completely different. The actual major Byrd operation in 1947 was Operation High Jump, and almost every detail in the story is wrong.
Wrong pole, for starters.
Wrong pole. High Jump was to Antarctica, the South Pole, not the North. It wasn't a secret solo flight. It was a massive naval task force. 4,700 men, 13 ships, an aircraft carrier. Hugely public.
And the purpose wasn't exploration of inner Earth.
Not even close. It was about establishing a base, Little America 4th, testing equipment in extreme cold, training personnel, and doing extensive aerial mapping, partly over that same Neuschwabenland area the Germans had claimed.
Ah, so the location feeds the conspiracy. They claim High Jump was really sent to attack Base 211.
That's the spin. That the U.S. knew about the Nazi base and sent a military force to destroy it. Again, zero evidence supports this.
What about the secret diary itself?
Pure fabrication. It appeared decades later, promoted by fringe authors like F. Amadeo Gianni. Byrd's actual flight logs exist, including from his 1926 North Pole flight attempt. They show mundane navigation notes and confirm he turned back early due to technical problems on that flight. The Inner Earth narrative is completely absent from his verified records.
So Neuschwab and Lind and the Byrd Diary are constructed narratives, blending fact and fiction.
Masterfully constructed to create a hidden history. And then, the timing is perfect. 1947, the year of High Jump and the Byrd flight.
It's also the year the modern UFO phenomenon kicks off, Kenneth Arnold's sighting.
Exactly. The synchronicity was just too perfect for conspiracy theorists to ignore. It allowed for the final synthesis.
Which is?
If UFOs are real, but maybe not from outer space, where are they from? This leads to the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis.
Meaning they're not extraterrestrial, but crypto-terrestrial, hidden right here on Earth.
Precisely. Coming from inside the hollow Earth. It's an elegant solution, in a way. It explains UFOs without needing interstellar travel. The aliens are actually our hidden neighbors.
And who put all these pieces together definitively?
The key text is widely considered to be Raymond W. Bernard's 1964 book, The Hollow Earth. Bernard, whose real name was Walter Siegmeister, was a sort of alternative health and esoteric guru.
And his book became the Bible of the movement.
Pretty much, because it seamlessly unified everything. He took the Agartha super race from the occultists, had them using the Simsols and the Poles from the 19th century populists to operate their flying saucers, the UFOs, and used the fabricated Byrd Diary as the modern eyewitness proof.
It ties it all up. Ancient myths, 19th century geography, occult legends, Nazi secrets, UFOs.
All into one neat, internally consistent package. It explained everything the government was supposedly hiding. It's the framework that still underpins most Hollow Earth belief today.
Okay, we've charted this incredible winding path of belief. Now we have to firmly plant our feet back in scientific reality.
Yes, because despite the imaginative appeal, the Hollow Earth theory isn't just unlikely, it's definitively impossible based on everything we know about our planet. There are multiple independent lines of evidence from geophysics accumulated over centuries.
Let's break them down. First, the problem Halley himself bumped into: gravity and density.
We know very accurately now the Earth's mass and volume. This gives us that average density of 5.5 grams per cubic centimeter.
Compared to the crust at about 2.7 GC meter.
Right. That difference is crucial. If the Earth were largely hollow, the average density would be much lower than the crust density. Think about it, lots of empty space or air weighs almost nothing compared to rock.
So the fact that the average is double the surface density means?
The interior has to be made of stuff far denser than surface rock. It demands a dense, solid core, primarily iron and nickel, under immense pressure. There's simply no room in the mass budget for huge voids.
That seems pretty conclusive on its own. But there's more, right? The seismic evidence.
This is the real clincher. The smoking gun. Using earthquakes to see inside the Earth.
How does that work again? P waves and S waves?
Exactly. Earthquakes send out different types of seismic waves. P waves primarily are compressional, like sound waves. They travel fast and can go through solids, liquids, and gases.
They go through everything.
Pretty much. But S waves, secondary, are shear waves. They shake side to side, perpendicular to their direction of travel. And crucially, shear waves cannot travel through liquids. Liquids don't have the rigidity to support that kind of shear motion.
So if there's a big liquid layer inside the Earth,
The S waves just stop dead when they hit it. And that is precisely what we observe.
how do we know?
Seismometers placed all around the world record earthquake waves. When a big quake happens, there's a huge region on the opposite side of the Earth called the S-wave shadow zone, where no direct S-waves are ever detected.
They just disappear from the readings in that zone.
They vanish. The only explanation is that they encountered a massive spherical layer of liquid material deep inside the Earth. This is our outer core, molten iron and nickel.
And that liquid outer core fills the space where the hollow Earth theories need there to be a habitable void.
Exactly. The very existence of the liquid outer core, proven by the S-wave shadow, makes a large-scale hollow structure impossible. And ironically, the convection currents in this liquid outer core are what generate Earth's magnetic field, the very phenomenon Haley was trying to explain.
So the thing that protects us also proves the Earth isn't hollow.
Wow. It's a beautiful convergence of evidence.
Yeah.
And then there's just the sheer physical impossibility of the modern claims.
Like the giant holes at the poles?
Sims's 1,400-mile wide openings, in the age of satellites, GPS, transpolar flights, scientific bases, it's absurd. The poles are mapped, monitored constantly. There are no giant holes. There are no massive gravity anomalies suggesting huge missing mass there.
The smooth lip idea doesn't work with modern navigation either.
Not at all. Pilots aren't relying on magnetic compasses near the poles anymore. They use GPS and inertial navigation systems that know exactly where they are geometrically. You couldn't sneak into a giant hole without noticing.
And finally, the pressure issue.
Just basic physics. Imagine trying to have a huge empty space, thousands of miles down. The weight of all the rock above it, the overburden pressure is immense.
You'd just collapse.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Rock, under that kind of pressure, behaves more like a very thick fluid. Any void would be crushed quick smart, as one source put it. It simply couldn't stay open. The planet's own gravity ensures it holds together as a dense, solid sphere, mostly.
So density, seismic waves, direct observation, pressure, the science is airtight.
Overwhelmingly so. Yet the belief persists, which tells us something important about the nature of these kinds of theories.
Okay, so we've traced this whole amazing story from ancient myth,
Through a brief moment of scientific possibility with Haley,
refuted by the Enlightenment's own methods,
rescued by passionate populists like Sims and Teed,
given vivid life by fiction like Pellucidar.
and finally forged into this grand unified theory of paranoia after World War II, blending Nazis, UFOs, and occultism.
What the sources really highlight is that the Hollow Earth theory today isn't really about geology anymore, it's become something else.
It's like a flexible framework, a schema for organizing other conspiracies. It's the ultimate filing cabinet for anything that needs a secret origin or a hidden base.
Need a place for escaped Nazis. The Hollow Earth. Need an origin for UFOs that isn't interstellar. Hollow Earth. Need a home for a secret super race. Hollow Earth.
Exactly. It's the ultimate deep state location, literally.
Huh.
And because of that, the core belief has shifted. It's less about proving the inner world exists.
And more about proving the cover-up exists.
Precisely. The conviction is that the elites, the governments, NASA, they're all actively hiding the entrances, manipulating satellite photos, censoring bird, restricting travel to Antarctica. It's all part of keeping the secret.
The deep state and the deep earth become intertwined. It explains why the world feels confusing or controlled. There's this massive secret being kept from us.
It perfectly blends that technological anxiety with a kind of mystical hope for a hidden reality. And maybe that's why it's so persistent.
In a world that feels totally mapped, explored, known, maybe the human imagination just desperately needs one last, secret, undiscovered frontier, even if it's demonstrably not there.
That deep-seated need for mystery might be stronger than any seismic data.
Well, we have to give a huge thank you to our listener, The Learner, for sending in such fantastic source material. This was an absolutely epic deep dive, tracing every twist and turn.
It really was a fascinating journey through belief, science, and the sheer power of storytelling. It shows that sometimes the most interesting subject isn't the scientific fact, but why people need to believe the alternative.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this exploration, if you want to keep diving into these complex histories and ideas with us, please do follow the show. That way you won't miss the next deep dive.
And we'll leave you with a final thought to chew on, building on what we just discussed. Given the rock-solid scientific evidence that the Earth is solid, why does the vision of a hidden, maybe perfect, maybe advanced world beneath our feet remain so compelling for some? What is it about our known surface world that makes the idea of a secret escape hatch underground so appealing?
Something to ponder. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.